Wow, image generation is really moving fast, isn't it?
Yep.
What felt kind of sci-fi not that long ago is becoming like a seriously powerful tool. And today we're diving deep into some really interesting developments from OpenAI. They've been showing off these new image generation models with some capabilities that, well, kind of blew us away.
Yeah, absolutely. We've been digging into the transcripts from their recent video demos, and what really jumps out is this increased control, this deeper understanding that these models now have. It's like the ability to keep a character looking consistent even when you change the style dramatically, or to follow super detailed instructions with amazing accuracy, even generating useful text right in the images, creating images with transparency built in, even intuitively restyling existing visuals. It's pretty wild.
Yeah, totally. And we're not just here to show off cool pictures. Today, we want to really unpack how these advancements are kind of changing the game, offering a ton of new power and creative freedom for anyone working with visuals. So let's break it down. And I think a good place to start is with something that really made me go, whoa, character consistency.
Right. This feels like a fundamental shift. Before, if you wanted different versions of the same character, you might get something vaguely similar, but it often wouldn't be the same, core character. What's really significant here is that the model can hold on to that central visual identity even when you're playing with really different stylistic interpretations.
And it was David Medina, DMAD, from OpenAI, whose demo really brought this home. He started with a prompt for a very, very low poly penguin mage. I mean, that sounds simple enough, but apparently getting that specific look, truly low poly, but still clearly a penguin mage, had been tricky for other models.
Exactly. Other models might get hung up on individual keywords, low poly, penguin, mage, without really grasping how they all fit together, what the overall style is supposed to be. But what's crucial here, as David pointed out, is the underlying large language model. That's what allows the model to understand the concept of a low poly penguin mage, not just a bunch of words. It gets the relationship between those words and the visual idea.
And then, this is where things get really interesting. He then asked it for a realistic miniature of that exact same penguin. I mean, think about that jump from this abstract, blocky, low poly style to something that could be like a detailed figurine. And yet you instantly knew it was the same penguin mage with his staff, his hat, the whole deal.
That's the key, right? It figured out the complete style change low poly to realistic miniature, but it kept those core defining character elements. It understood the essence of that penguin mage. That kind of intelligent inference is huge. You don't need to spell out all the details again. The model remembers them.
And to really hammer it home, he then asked for a crystal version of the same penguin, saying light reflecting and very realistic. And again, from a pretty simple instruction, it generated this intricate, almost tangible-looking crystal penguin. Same character, same iconic elements, but now rendered in a completely different material with a whole new level of realism.
Exactly. And the implications for creative work are, well, huge. Imagine you're designing a game character. You can nail down that core look and then generate tons of variations, different poses, different materials, different levels of detail for different situations, all without losing that essential visual identity. It could really speed things up.
Okay, so consistent characters are a big deal. But let's shift gears a bit and talk about how these models are now able to follow really, really detailed instructions. Kenji from OpenAI showed this off, and it was kind of mind-blowing how precise it was.
Yeah, it's like a new level of granular control, Kenji decided to push the model by asking it to create an image with 15 different objects, each with specific attributes, like a blue star, a red triangle, 3 green squares, 4 pink circles, and so on, all the way up to 15 unique items, each with a defined color, shape, and quantity. Pretty demanding, right?
Right, and he pointed out that older image generation models would often struggle with that level of complexity.
Yeah.
He figured they might get like 5 to 8 of those objects right, maybe, with the correct attributes, if you were lucky.
But this new model, he said it nailed it all. Every single one of those 15 objects was generated exactly as described, with the right color, shape, the right number. It's remarkable, the attention to detail it shows. It's not just getting the general idea, it's accurately processing and executing all these specific instructions.
So for you listening, what does that kind of accuracy unlock? I mean, it sounds like it lets you get a lot closer to the image in your head, right? What you imagine is what you get.
Precisely. It means a much more faithful representation of the user's exact intent. You have a very specific visual in mind, with all these distinct elements' exact characteristics. Well, this lets you bring that vision to life with an accuracy that just wasn't possible before. This makes the technology way more useful for tasks that need that level of detail, like creating schematics, visualizing complex data, things like that.
Okay, on to another really practical advancement. The improved ability to render text right inside images. Alan, a research scientist at OpenAI, talked about this, and it's more impactful than you might think at first.
Sure. As Alan put it, and I thought this was a great way to say it, a picture is worth 1,000 words, but being able to also render like a few words or symbols can carry like thousands of pictures. It really highlights how well integrated text in an image can add so much meaning, context, and utility. It goes both ways, you know?
And his example was perfect. He asked the model to visualize an infographic explaining Guten's prism experiment in great detail with a wide aspect ratio and a dark blue background. Now, we've all seen AI-generated images with text, but often it's illegible, it looks weird in the image, or it doesn't really add anything to the visual.
What's remarkable here is that it can render text that's actually useful, and it combines it seamlessly with relevant visuals that directly support and explain the text. It's not just throwing words onto a picture to look cool, it's creating a cohesive visual explanation where the text and the imagery work together to communicate information effectively.
Imagine the possibilities for visual learners, or for anyone who needs to share complex information clearly and concisely. Being able to generate infographics, diagrams, educational materials with readable text integrated right in could be a game changer for knowledge sharing and understanding.
Absolutely. It's going beyond just pretty pictures into functional communication. It's about communicating information well through this synergy of visuals and text, opening up new possibilities for education, presentations, even just explaining tricky concepts quickly with visuals.
Okay, let's talk about something that sounds kind of simple, but has some surprisingly versatile applications. The ability to generate images with transparent layers. Jen from Wang at OpenAI walked us through this one.
This feature is so intuitive and easy to use. As Jen showed, you can just give the model a prompt, like say, cute puppy cartoon squared size, and it automatically generates the image with a transparent background.
It's like getting a pre-cut image ready to place anywhere, right?
Precisely. And that transparency opens up all sorts of possibilities. The most obvious one, as Jen pointed out, is creating digital stickers. Since the background's already transparent, you can easily put the image on any other background photos, documents, presentations, whatever.
And she showed a really cool example of prompting for a smart researcher wearing glasses and a blue shirt and getting an image with a transparent background that could then be seamlessly added to, like a digital workspace, or shared as a fun little visual.
Exactly. It's about creating visual assets that are super easy to integrate into all sorts of digital content. Think about jazzing up social media posts, making presentations more engaging, even just personalizing your digital spaces with custom-made elements that don't have that clunky, solid background that often looks out of place. It's a small feature with a big impact on usability and creative flexibility.
Last but not least, let's explore visual restyling. This was shown off by Lou from OpenAI, and it really highlights the potential for creative exploration and playing around with different ideas.
Yeah, this feature lets you take an existing image, a sketch, a photo, another generated image, and change its style based on a simple text prompt. Lou used a basic drawing made with their internal tool for comic books to demonstrate this.
So they had this simple, almost rough comic book panel, and they uploaded it to the model and told it to generate what will this drawing look like as a real comic.
And the result, as Lou said, was pretty surprising and even funny. It was a fully rendered comic book panel with shading, detail, a real comic book aesthetic, all derived from that initial simple drawing. But they took it even further. They decided to change something in that new comic panel.
Yeah, there was a dragon in the comic, and with a simple prompt to replace it with a cutie penguin, the model seamlessly swapped in a totally new character while keeping the comic book style.
That ability to easily iterate and transform visual content is so powerful. It opens up possibilities for quickly prototyping visual ideas, for exploring different art styles without starting from scratch, even for playfully remixing and reimagining existing visuals. It really lowers the barrier for creative experimentation and makes the artistic process more fluid.
So to sum it all up, we've seen some pretty amazing advancements, right? I mean, we're talking about the ability to keep a character's look consistent across styles, to follow super detailed instructions with incredible accuracy, to render text within images in a way that's actually useful, to generate images with transparency built in so they're easy to use, and to intuitively restyle existing visuals with just a few words.
It's a big deal. All these features together show how image generation is really evolving. It's not just about making pretty pictures anymore. It's about giving users much more control, more detail, and more practical uses for all kinds of creative and communicative projects. These aren't just small improvements, they represent a real shift in what's possible.
Exactly. It's moving from being this novelty to becoming a serious, versatile tool for creators, educators, communicators, anyone who works with visuals. And so, to you listening, I'll leave you with this. Given these new levels of control and understanding in image generation, how might this technology affect your own interest or your work? What new doors for visual communication, creative expression, or problem solving could these tools open up in your world? That's something to think about.